Amazing, beautiful humans. Happy Monday, and welcome again to Embodied Masculinity. Today we have with us Paal Christian Buntz, who is based in Norway, right now in Denmark, and who's a Tantric sexologist. So for me, I really resonated with your work, Paal, when I first came across your whole like multi-orgasmic journeys and the whole work that you do in the Wildman program. And yeah, so it's been really exciting as well to see that you've been on Norwegian Television and have supported hundreds of men in actually embodying more what it means to be a man from a healthy perspective rather than from a basically a wounded child that's masking to be a man and kind of putting on that suit rather than actually really from the inside out bringing what it means to healthily show up as a man in the world. And I think from that we can step into the exploration with you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for your introduction. And I think most of us men, we are not born with a manual how to be a man and how to be an authentic man. So and we are not born with enlightened parents, so we have our woundings and we have our pain. And I definitely had my woundings from my father and my father lineage, which I really felt like I needed to clean up and to find out what does it mean to be a man, and what kind of man do I want to be. And some of the imprints I got from my father was not the best around sexuality, and also around emotions. So how to feel, how to kind of connect to my body, connect to my power, to connect to my sexuality. I never got any good education around it in my teens, and so I had watching porn magazines and all of that. That was kind of where I was, and around 23 I started to develop my inner knowledge and my inner knowing, and going on the spiritual path. And I think that's so crucial in the time we are living in. And I felt now when I should talk about this event as well, we are all colored by what is happening in the world and with Russia and Ukraine, and just seeing still that we have so-called primitive men who are not in touch with their emotion, not in touch with their emotion, their body, what it means to be a human being, and that we still have like war consciousness, and that we can be willing to kill, like with Putin, kill your brothers and sisters, uncle, cousins, which he claimed that is their relatives, and want that we still have that. I am kind of shocked of that. And so the importance of redefining masculinity and I think also around sexuality is so crucial to actually, if you think on the big picture, heal, and that we never gonna have a more war and more. It's so old-fashioned. It's like, wow, I'm so sad. I'm so angry as well. Of fuck, are we still not coming further? So I think most of us, or many of us, since the COVID thing and all of that, we are already on our knees. Come on, let's rise up in consciousness, and let's come more to our body and ask question what it means actually to be a human, and how to be a conscious human being, and who are in touch with their emotions and body, and can own the sexuality. So that's kind of a long intro from my place, but I don't know what awoke in you guys when I'm talking about this.
It's
Yeah,
such
really.
sorry, Tab, you go for it.
No, I just wanted to say I love what you're sharing with sort of like this redefinition, and yeah, that we have been in this sort of like consciousness of, yeah, in a way, fear, and yeah, there's now like war, and then it's also, I feel for me that piece of, are we kind of like drawn into this, or are we connecting actually with our body and with sort of the part of the world that we can create peace in, and also creating peace kind of inside. And I feel it connects really beautifully to this redefining of what sexual intimacy actually is, where what I would love to explore with you today, it's less about, when we had our conversations on WhatsApp before, where it's less about sort of the outward experience of sexual connectivity, but actually like what happens for me when I'm in this sexual space. And I feel there's a deep undercurrent of sovereignty that really comes with that, like personal sovereignty, like how am I experiencing it, and what is my agency and ownership in what's unfolding. So I feel that is where I'd love to go further. And Massimo, you also had some comments on that.
Well, I mean, it's really the word responsibility. I'm kind of left very intrigued by your introduction about what's going on in the current climate. And I think what usually happens with a lot of men in general is we take the stance of going, it's not really my problem, so there's nothing that I can really do about it. And that's possibly a feeling that I actually have in relation to the subject in itself, because I know a lot of people that are friends of mine that are there, that are on the borders of what's going on, and in many respects, I feel helpless in not knowing what to do in that respect. How can you give support? How can I be that man that steps up into that sort of space and really assumes a collective responsibility with everybody? And maybe I think just the question of responsibility could be something we could speak into as well.
Yeah, it's many ways to go here, and if we should go more around the sexuality first, and coming into sovereignty around our sexuality as well. And what I've been coaching a lot of men and having courses with men. Most men I see is lost in the outer realm, and like with women, or with your partner, it's to chase a partner. It's just when I'm chasing it outside of myself, so that I can get some femininity or some relief, and where I think the first step is to bring the consciousness in, and kind of, instead of being chasing after that, and the happiness is out there. It's like a happiness inside, but the pain is that we need to meet some pain on the way in. And where I see a lot of men have challenges, and I also experienced myself, to meet that pain and to be willing to kind of lose some of the outer external world to kind of bring the consciousness in and actually feel that I'm not happy. And like with me, it was said that I can use porn, could masturbate in order to actually get away from that pain I was feeling. And so there is that hero's journey, or that to be willing to own my shit, my wounding, my trauma, my pain, and being curious on that, and then starting to own also my own sexuality and say, like, I don't need to chase it out there. My sexuality is first of all to be able to love myself, and to come back to my own body, to my emotions, and keeping my sexual energy. So my first step around my tantric path was like to keep my sexual energy, and not ejaculate, and not peaking with the sexual energy, but to conserve. And that's when I really started to have progress on my personal development. I had already been 10, 15 years on that path. But when I start conserving my sexual energy, it was like, boom, now I get rocket fuel for my growth and to keep all of that. So also my shit comes up and my pain comes up, but I also get an opportunity now to transform that pain into pleasure and into bliss and into orgasm and multi-orgasmic orgasm. So so that was so much more pleasure. But on that path, there is also that willingness. I need to be willing to feel it all. And that's, I remember my old teacher say, who wants to be enlightened if you want to feel everything, even all the shit which is happening in the world? It's like, it takes balls to do that.
It's really interesting what you say with the like retaining of your sexual energy. If you can speak a bit more into this, like what's been your, because I mean you speak basically about like semen retention, and then from there the ability to work with your sexual energy in different ways. And it's also a journey that I've been on, actually inspired by you. You know, I've come across it so many times before, and I was like, man, like for the month of February, I gonna commit to like semen retention and engaging with like sexuality in a different way. But I'm curious to hear from you what your journey was in that, like what things kind of like unfolded for you by being more conscious of, okay, I'll own my power. And yeah, like what unfolded for you, man?
Yeah, it's many ways, but I think the primal thing was like, yeah, I had challenges around women and sexuality and how to be strong in a relationship and how to actually keep my power. So I was more, or from my conditioning, more a mommy boy, pleasing my partners and giving away my powers. And so I felt that I'm getting weaker in my relationships. I feel like I'm losing myself, and then having sex in the beginning many times a day, and then it's like, okay, it's after a while it's not so funny or at least not so exciting, and I feel I'm getting weaker. So, and I had a challenge. I was starting a relationship and it was quite challenging, and then I heard about tantra for many years, and then it's like, okay, fuck, there is something I don't understand around women, around sexuality. I want to grow. So, okay, let's jump on the train. And then the teacher there was kind of pretty strong on the non-ejaculation part. And I was like, okay, fuck, I am ready. I don't have anything to lose now. I jump on the train. I want to try it out now for real. I was like, had been trying with it, and I've been in satsang community and a lot of like humbleness and I like, but they never taught me about sexuality and how to that I can actually be sexually active. And in my tantra school, I was invited to be a lot of sexual active and still not ejaculating. So I had nothing to lose, but I really wanted to explore that. But I was happy. I was lucky with my teacher because he was able to open my kundalini quite fast, so I could have full body orgasms kind of right away. But other people might have a longer journey to go for opening up all the energy channels to have that bliss and that. But still, I would say, just to keep that sexual energy and using that to open your blockages is amazing tool. And it should be, if all the men in the world was kind of keeping their sexual energy and can conserve that, there will be no more war, and with so less fights and stuff. It's like, I must say, like all the time before, I was like, my mood was going up and down. I was like more trouble, but when I was able to keep my sexual energy, my life kind of gets so much better. I was getting so much more happy and joyful, and I could start living my life purpose and go the direction I really, really want. And yeah, it should be everybody, all the men should feel the power of this. But again, it comes with the price that you need to feel it all and be willing to, like, because it can be so much energy, and it's like, I need to come, if not I'm going crazy. And I remember I had that, but it took some time before my nervous system could hold that amount of energy so that I could enjoy it and feel more the pleasure in my body.
Well, how would you invite the men that are listening that are, shall we call, skeptics to the whole semen retention world, to actually really maybe sort of expand their consciousness a little bit to actually see the benefits from what you're talking about?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, why give away the biggest pleasure you have, you know? And one of them is to have that orgasm. And
Full
it
body
is.
orgasm.
Now I'm talking about the ejaculation orgasm as well. It is. I tell it to my brother, and he's like, "You don't want to hear about it." so it needs to be a ripeness in it. So why? As I said, it's like I get more energy, I get more creativity. I have less ups and downs, less conflicts, and so I'm more stable emotionally, and I feel like I have a confidence to do what I really want and live my life purpose and kind of. And then if you come back to the sexual act, it's like, or it is like the sexual energy is life force, and if I can use that to heal, to open blockages, to open traumas, to open my whole body and circulate it and start to feel so much more bliss in my whole body, and can enjoy having sex as long as you want. So you can, instead of having 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you can start having sex as long as you want, and you are confident that you can take your partner or your woman as deep as you want, or having so much more bliss when you're having sex. And to get rid of shame and coming into your power also as a man, and to really feel confident that I'm a good lover, you know, and I can take my partner deep. So I feel all the men wants to be a good lover, but the most men are chasing to be too much, but they need to take the journey inside themselves first. And when you do, or when they do, and when I done, it's like, okay, I am good as I am, and I don't need to please any woman. I don't want to leave myself. And that's what we talked about earlier, to be sovereign in your own sexuality and be sovereign in my own body. I'm not here to give anyone orgasms. I'm here to actually stay, first of all, in my own body, in my own balls, and fully enjoy sex. And instead of, it's my job to please the women, which I feel that's where most men are going.
So many important points there. I mean, I think the thing that really resonates a lot with me is in a way a different word, but the leaking of energy, and how many men in general are really, really, really depleted all the time. And you know, that correlation and connection with the emotional self, and really balancing that out is so important. It's super important.
Yeah, it's like, instead of running after life, which most people are doing and are drained, is like, okay, I dare to stop up, and like I don't want to leave myself. And that has been kind of my life purpose, is like, how can I stay home in myself? Because we're getting dragged out with social media, with everything which is happening outside. But it's like, I'm not going to run out from myself before I am home here, of course I have my bad habits still, but the more I am fully in myself, the more happy I am. It's like the happiness we are longing for is inside of us. Everything we're looking for can we find inside of ourselves. All the answers, all our bliss, our soul is here. And if we go here first, and then we really have something to share to our partners, but not from a place of pleasing, but it's like, I want to share this. I want to
Richness, fullness.
But from a place of fullness as a man. And that's very few men who are like happy in themselves.
I remember I came across this book many years ago, and it was called Peace Between the Sheets. And that was the first time that I actually really cottoned onto this concept of semen retention. You know, I was reading it, and I was seeing someone at the time, and really try to sort of prematurely sort of present this concept. And it was fascinating to see how my partner at that time really could not understand what I was trying to do. And I think, you know, that's also one major component that I find when you are practicing or introducing these kind of ideas. It's really trying to recruit your partner to actually be supportive of you in that process. Otherwise, it's the temptation of just sort of going to that space is just, you know, within a second you're there.
Yeah, and a lot of women has this old programming that if the man is not coming, I'm not loved. So to frame that in the beginning, but to frame it is like I'm experimenting with some with semen retention, and it's actually for my own benefits that I can be more intimate with you after lovemaking, and that I can feel energized also after lovemaking, and that we can have more deeper sex and deeper connection, and that I can really feel you and be with you before, after, or before, during, and after sex. It's like, would you like that? It's like, I have never come across any woman who have said no to that. And would you like to have maybe explore deeper pleasure, deeper orgasm, deeper presence? It's like, but many women also have programming that they want to have their short peak orgasms as well, and that can be a challenge for a man, because then we are coming, or we need to pull out, or it's often so that if you can both like go on that tantric path together and explore, that is like the goal is not the orgasm. The goal, if there is a goal, there is to be intimate and to be together and getting to know each other and doing healing together, and like, wow, we can just breathe together and feeling pleasure together, enjoy our time and taking time to really get to know each other, and then on that path we can build up so much more slower and so much more deeper bonding, and really open the heart and really open the mind, and then having deep lovemaking. So that is the all the way with which is just this or over each other. It's like, that's also old fashioned. It's like how to connect first of all the body and the mind and spirit, as Zainab is saying here, and then also really bonding the vagina and the penis, if there's a man and woman, then like really having a connection here and waiting here and being here, instead of going with the normal friction sex, but to really like, okay, how can I actually feel I am inside of her, and like gradually opening up to a conscious cock to open her and to de-arm her vagina and really feel where she wants to be penetrated, or where I can use my masculine presence to take her deeper and deeper and deeper, but not from a way of performing, but to really serve her. But then I need the slowness, and especially when she's opening up, it's difficult, and that's where most of us men lose it, when she really open up and then we get sucked in, and then boom, we are just coming. So that is why it's also important to keep the sexual energy and breathe, and the higher and the longer I can go, the more presence I have, the deeper I can take her, and the more I can not lose myself in the kind of the sucking and the pleasure from the woman.
I think it's super important what you say around that sense of service and really serving one another in a couple. And I feel what you say about the de-armoring as well is really beautiful, where it's ultimately how can sex become our ultimate healing practice? Yeah. And I think there's two components. You spoke on the one hand about opening up your own kundalini, but then also with your conscious cock, being able to de-armor your partner. And if you could maybe become a bit more what specific practices could people engage with to open their own kundalini, but then to also really serve their partnership in a sense of being able to de-armor their partner. And then ultimately, maybe the third component here is, how do you stay present in these moments? Because it's interesting when you say opening the other person up and then not being kind of sucked into, because it's kind of these mini deaths, So I wonder what practices you have found and learned that allow you to maintain that level of being home, as you were saying earlier, while in that act of man, I just want to go in, but it's
Yeah, what is good and what I love with the sexuality and to work with conscious sexuality is we're working on the pleasure side, and we need to learn to conduct the pleasure. It's not only the trauma work and the pain, but to how to first if you take the first one is how to learn to conduct that pleasure. It is I do. You can do yoga, you can do a lot of breath work, but it's how to really feel into your emotions, and just now when we are speaking is okay, can I feel my body, and can I almost bring my consciousness down in my belly, in my pelvis? It's can I speak from here? So it's can I be with you inside my body even though I'm speaking to you? So to learn that with yoga, with active meditation, I do I've created something I call the Wildman workout, which I can share free with you if you want. Mm-hmm. and yeah, different embodiment practice. There are Qigong, Tai Chi, shaking, all of that to both to release and then also feel and be in the body. And then, so that is, and the problem here also with, it's a little bit more vulnerable to say, but it's for a man to be able to circulate his sexual energy, he needs to develop his masculine presence, but he also needs to develop his feminine practice. So if you'll see Kundalini is going like this, in the symbols up through the spine. So it is masculine and feminine energy. And if you see the masculine energy goes down and it ends down in the cock, and then we need to be able to surrender and to let go as well, and that is the able to conduct the emotions and bring it up, and also find the feminine side and to really feel. And that is the problems, to get the sexual energy from the penis up through the spine. And that's kind of where they say like the sexual energy is kind of blocked. And there is the now I'm going full on, but there's the anus, which is the biggest taboo for most men. And if you're contracted and you're not can feel and you're blocked there, the energy doesn't come up. So I invite people to de-armor themselves in the anus, so that they can surrender as well and find their female sexuality. So that's the edgiest part, but you don't need to, but that's the fast route in order to make it open the Kundalini. So
it's super interesting to hear you say that, and I agree with you. And it's I guess the men that I work with are so detached from the emotional space within them that it's almost like we're governed by linguistics rather than actually felt sense in the body. So it's almost like trying to reinitiate them in this process and go, okay, forget about the language that you use to describe feelings, to describe all these things that you're saying to yourself in your head. But what is the actual sensation in the body? So almost like reacclimatizing them to what's going on just a purely felt sense. And then slowly introducing with what you're saying. And I agree, eventually you get to that point where, all these points in the body can be felt and understood very differently without just giving just sort of a, I feel X, Y, and Z. So really embody that. And that for me is sort of that de-armoring practice that falls very in line with what you're saying. I love that. That's great.
So it's like taking the man from the head and then down in the body, and that's the Mantak Chia, which most men here probably are breathing in and then pushing, and David Data pushing towards the balls and then letting the energy go up and sucking it up. So, but this can take time. It can take years from a man, as you said, to really bring the energy down, and that is the challenging process. But the benefit, it's immense. And I didn't think it was possible to live more like in a place of deep flow most of the days, because I had my past and my shit. But it's like doing that, it's worth any moment and any minute of it, because then you're building strength day by day. But it takes some level of patience and to do it.
I read quite a bit of your.
Interesting.
Sorry, Toby. I read quite a bit of your writing on sort of the worthiness of love, and I wonder if there's that connection with what you're talking about here as well.
Yeah. It's how to say this. I found when I was able to keep my sexual energy again, then really my heart could open in a deeper way, and again, we have not learned to love. We have not learned to actually give love, and most of us men, and me included, was like, if I do this and this, and I'm a good lover, even a good tantric lover, then I will be worthy love. But to really talking about self-love, to really to come home and to say I am worthy love, and I am lovable, I am beautiful, you are beautiful, and to say that even to men, and like and to feel it and to mean it, that is it's so beautiful. I don't know more to say on that, but maybe not the best way of describing it, but
No, I think it's very, very important. And I mean, in a way, how I hear you also describing that is that for men to reach that point, it's almost we have this transactional ideology that in order to be perceived and seen as lovable and being able to give love, there has to be this kind of transaction that happens beforehand. Otherwise, it's almost non-existent. And if I really think about it, that's probably how I grew up. That it was very much transactional rather than understanding that I was abundant in myself.
Yeah, and that if I leak my sexual energy or my energy every day, I will be drained. So, but the more I can learn to stay with myself and learn to be home and trust, but it's like I also want to say, like, and that's the conditioning of us men, as like, I need money, I need a career, I need a wife, I need a house, I need all of that. But do I dare to give some of my attention back into my body instead, and give a little bit away of the traditional way, and that's the spiritual path, which it is saying no to a lot of money, easy way, career, and instead, okay, no, I'm on my journey to really get to know myself. But my experience is like the more I am home in myself, the more easy things start to, instead of I'm chasing it, I'm attracting it, but because I am it. I am abundant, I am lovable, and then people want to be with me more than before when I'm chasing. Or so it's if we see that everything is inside of ourselves, all the love is inside of ourselves, and all the abundance is inside of myself. If I have billions of dollars and are not happy inside of myself, I will never be happy. Look at Putin. He has a palace, he has a country, he has everything, but still not happy. You still have to go to war. and that's true with a lot of millionaires as well. So let's explore who we are, and that we are abundant in ourselves. We are lovable in ourselves if we are true to our heart and soul, and to our spirit, our balls. Then everything is here, everything is available.
It's something that I've heard in the Tantric community a few times, is that word self-sourcing, which I think is such a beautiful description of, like, ultimately it's not about necessarily going out and kind of like sourcing food and money and like homes and cars and whatever, but it's ultimately, yeah, sourcing the experiences. Like I was laying with my partner on our couch the other day, and I was like, man, laying on this couch versus laying on a like 5,000 pound couch doesn't really make a fucking difference. The experience is ultimately the same. But then there's this sort of like ego component, what like Faz is putting in the chat as well, where it's like, how do I want people to see me? And ultimately it's I think this interesting layer of like, am I in my head, or am I actually like in my sort of like felt experience of what's around me? And I think the interesting thing that you brought up there as well, earlier with the Kundalini and, feeling these energies, you were saying the easiest way is basically through the armoring of your inness. And potentially it's quite an interesting thing also towards like shame and, like, as a man, being fucked in the ass, you're ultimately it's going with like being like homosexual, and I think there's like shame around that. So I'd be curious to hear from you, because I mean, I personally think it's quite an interesting way of like experiencing pleasure, and then finding like different ways of like, man, like what else can my body feel, but yeah, if you have like specific practices for like de-armoring your anus to actually integrate your masculine and your like feminine energies, that'd be super interesting, because I think it's really like edgy, as you were saying, but I mean, it's often like, dude, fucking hell, like, if we want to really move forward as a society, I think we need to lean into the edge and kind of go beyond it and see like, man, what could be the new normal?
Yeah, I normally don't put that on the first intro.
No, I think
but let's bring the anus consciousness into the world. No, but it's it's a biggest taboo, and my biggest fear as well or it was to be gay, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. It is, and it doesn't change it, but it's also, talking about love and talking about love around men. How you look at women, they are enjoying each other, they are holding, and we like to see many women having sex, and it's like porn is very what we look, but with being close with another man, that's such a taboo still, and to feel just love with another man, and then why is it like that? And I think this is on a way of changing as well, because I don't think many of my generation our fathers didn't really touch us and didn't really kind of hold us and kind of so it was, come on, Paul, you can do this, you can it was like performing, and then I was born with that imprint. But if now fathers are holding, and there is not any shame of that, it's beautiful, and actually to work on the feminine side of me, open up, I could feel more love for men, and without shame around it. But I didn't want to have more sex with men, but it was like, but I could take in. It was not, and didn't need, and that's where maybe a lot of us men, we need to compete instead of actually feeling the men, because we are afraid to actually. And that was my biggest fear, and I had like a spiritual awakening, and then I sat close to another man, and suddenly some sexual fantasy comments like, "Ooh, what is this?" So when we really start feeling, we can also feel the love for another man, which I wasn't. My father couldn't really hold me, so there is a lack of self-love for my own masculinity and lack for my brothers. So instead, we have learned to compete. So then there's nothing dangerous to see another man is beautiful, and that's when I started doing men's work, and I could see like a man standing in his full power. It's like, fuck, it's amazing. And then I can, if I'm brave, I can also start opening up to my feminine sexual energy. So because I need to, as I said, when we are having sex and the woman is kind of opening up, and we are being pulled in, I need to stay there, and I need to feel all the pleasure which is coming in my cock, and where I'm kind of and if I stop breathing and not feeling it, then I'm being pulled out, and then I'm coming. So it's like, so I need to kind of stay with my, that's where I'm staying with my anus, and I'm breathing, I am there, and I'm pulling the energy up, but it's very pleasurable. It's like, so I need to conduct all of that pleasure, which is kind of coming into my cock, and so it's like, can I breathe, can I relax, can I be and not moving and stay in all of that pleasure? And then I need my feminine, I need to pull away all that pleasure from my balls up through my spine, so that I am not coming. And that's why you need to learn to pull the energy up through the spine, and that's a kind of a feminine approach instead of pushing forward. And yeah.
Dude, I love this. So let me kind of like rephrase this a little bit. And so what I'm hearing you say is basically that, like, in this act of conscious lovemaking, you're engaging with your like masculine penetrative force, and then like the moment you're feeling your partner is opening, instead of like penetrating further, it's like almost creating like a counter suction, where you draw kind of like the energy, and she can kind of draw this energy, so that there is this sort of spaciousness almost created in the act of lovemaking, where both of you can feel into the deeper realms of the universe. Is that effectively what you're explaining?
Yeah. So you're staying there, and instead of her also, when she's feeling a lot of pleasure, she tends to space out. So if she can stay there with your with her, like in the outside of the vagina, and you staying there inside of her and not penetrating, so that she can also conduct her pleasure and she's not spacing out, because then she can suck your energy and then you're coming. So if it's like both are staying, so that she, and that is taking some trust from her as well in practice. And that's when we're talking about the de-armoring, and it's good to de-armoring with the hand so that she can really feel inside of her vagina, because most women are not really feeling. They are numb, and having pain in the cervix. So that she gets a trust that the penis is not gonna bang 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 and hammer on her cervix, which maybe it's painful, so that it is a presence here. There's a presence. It's like the more sexual energy you have in your cock is like in presence, the more you can just open it. But you're not there to force it to open, but it opens with presence. So, and then that is so pleasurable, so that you need to circulate that energy up through your spine, and then relax. So I'm always keeping my awareness on my anus and staying there, so that because the first place I'm contracting is in my anus, and then I'm contracting my or my butt, and then and I'm coming. So the more I can relax, be with myself. I'm not here to go faster. I'm breathing. I'm feeling all the pleasure. I'm staying here, and I allow myself to feel it. And if it's too much, okay, I take a break. I ask, can you give me a massage so that I can relax, and then we can go back again. Because there's a lot of taboo there around men, that you actually say, I need a break. If not, I'm coming. So
there's an interesting narrative around that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's also it's such a beautiful communicative space between you and your partner as well, in terms of, you were saying sort of spacing out when a woman spaces out, and it's an interesting point, because that's really where, if a conscious man is really engaging properly, can say, actually hold the gaze, really bring yourself back, so that we're very, very conscious in that moment, and really try and sort of breathe back down and come back down in your body. And love this one particular exercise of pulsing the penis, right? And that in itself is like you said about de-armoring with your fingers. It can also be de-armored with the penis too. So I always, when I work with couples, try and sort of put it across that you can be so creative in the space that it's you literally create your own sexual philosophy together. And we need to really, really embody that. We really need to embrace that. And the moment you kind of just, like you say, breathe into that space, you do reach a different level of richness and fullness.
Yeah, and then you don't know what's going to happen. It's like, as a man, I'm not the necessary one that's forcing things to happen, but it's, if she's opening up, I can go a little bit more, and I'm also feeling in how much can I give at the moment, and okay, where are we? And here also pain can come up, and deep love can come up, but it can everything can come up. I don't know, so I know and I don't know, and it's like this, being in that space where I'm fully listening to her and fully listening inside of my own body, and we are on this little bit unknown journey together to open up together and see what is happening, and it's such a more, instead of the traditional friction which end boom boom, it's getting boring. Here is like, we don't know what the body needs, what the body like in the next moment, and it's it's going in a little bit on a unknown journey, and that's when the tantric sex kind of never ends. It's like a new exploration, and it become interesting because we are healing each other, we are unraveling each other, we are feeling pleasure together, we are crying together, or one crying, other one holding, whatever. We are becoming humans together and supporting each other to open up and to feel and to be who we are, and it's so much more rich.
So we also have two questions here. One is from Zainab. How can women, or how women can help men realize and level up their sexual energy? And then there is another one from Paals. So if men are not chasing women, and if women want men to chase them, and no one's chasing anyone, how are relationships happening? So she's curious regarding the polarity. Which one do you want to take first?
Now I'm forgetting, but I just remember the first, the chasing. If you take that first, then
good man. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. If nobody chasing each other, it is, so to speak. It's, I will say, like, chasing is more like the neediness. It's like if you see most of the if you Tinder or wherever, you're wanting somebody out there to fill me up. But if I'm coming from fullness, I'm not chasing you, but it's like, wow, you are beautiful. Would you like to have a coffee with me? Would you like to explore with me? Do you want to? And I remember when I went to Tantra for the first time, I said, would you like to have sex with me? I could say that without needing her. I could say it like, wow, you're beautiful. Would you like to have sex with me? Before, I was too shameful to dare to say that. So it's not that I'm not, but I can appreciate it from a place of fullness. Wow, you're a beautiful woman, but I'm not needing you, even though I love you and I can fall in love with you. Yes, that's can happen, and then a little bit chasing happen, but it's more to be home in ourselves and take full responsibility for what we are feeling.
That position of deficit is very disempowering. From a position of it almost feels very forceful when we're needy. And that always says to me, it's you have to start with the intentionality. What is the intention? You mentioned Tinder as an example. Am I sort of just trying to fill a hole in my life and in the actual physical sense of filling a hole? Or is it a case of, I'm coming from a very enriched and full space and I want to celebrate in that person that you say, you're beautiful. I want to meet up with you. I want to experience you. That's powerful. That's really stepping into your power and doesn't feel as forceful.
Yeah. And then when I'm full here and then the rejection is not so painful either, because I was like, it was more like I was brave to daring to say it. So I'm already winning instead of, I think that my happiness is there. And if you are saying no to me, then that's kind of so yeah, the authentic expression will happen, and so I think the magnet will come. And I think that is the purpose of lovemaking and love and meeting, and is to work on. I have like a wheel of a love wheel. We falling in love and we lose ourselves a bit, but we know, I mean, I've seen this partner for some time, it will come a shadow where she cannot fulfill all my dreams, or she's not what I thought, and I see suddenly some shadows, and that's where we really need to do the work, and both partners needs to do their own shadow work, so that the love can come into a new cycle, a new spring, where we fall in love, and so that we're going in these circles and going deeper and deeper in love with each other. I think that's the purpose of being in an intimate relationship, and create that safety, so that deeper and deeper part of ourselves can be unraveled and seen and loved true.
Yeah, I love that. It's really giving for the sake of giving, rather than sort of like giving too covertly and wanting basically to receive something, and not being courageous enough to say actually what you want, that need. So yeah, let's move to the next question of how can women help men realize to level up their sexual energy?
Once again, take the question again.
It was how can women help men realize and level up their sexual energy?
Yeah, it's difficult to there is a lot of women. It's like women rising up in their power, and so many women's group and so much tantra, and there's more, and yeah, it's difficult how if the man is not, it's like if man is not ripe, if he's not ready,
Can be met with defensiveness.
Yeah, he will not. But it's like what I will say to the women is like, don't compromise on yourself. There are men out there. There are many beautiful men out there with a humble heart. It's like if you are a tantric woman, then it's like don't compromise. If they want you, then they need to join on that journey. I do the same. It's like if somebody's going to be intimate with me, this is my way, this is my path, and I can't compromise with it. And if women are starting doing that, then I think, yes, so that the women also are not victim of it, but they are in power. And don't compromise.
I always
this piece of sovereignty again, like redefining sexuality from that it's this like outward experience. I mean, there is an outward component, but it's ultimately like, man, like what does it do for me, and how can I serve, or when do I want to be served, and being very clear which direction the energy shall flow.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, if no man is coming to take me, okay, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna make love with myself. I'm gonna pleasure myself. I'm gonna be happy. And it's the man's how to say loss that they don't have this beautiful woman I am. so yeah, and more men are coming. We are coming. We are waking up.
Massimo, you wanted to say something? Then we have one more question, and I think we shall wrap it up for today.
I wanted to say that, you know, it's on a very, very basic level, when we're met with defensiveness, I think that's always a sign that we have to grow through something. And I think at the beginning stages of any relationship, or even in relationships that have been going for a long time, it's trying to really put that conversation on the table, that, you know, there's certain tensions that we have and always will have in relationship, and that's the point where we grow the most. So if you can sort of disarm the language that you both use and get to a point where you can actually really be free flowing and saying, look, this is what I need. I need you to be this man that I can see that you are. And you know, I see you being this incredible man, but please reflect on yourself and actually recognize that you're falling short a little bit. And it's not to destruct you and make you feel terrible. But if you are having those feelings, we're kind of pushing on a bruise that you need to work on. Maneuver.
And that's where, as I said, in the relationship, you come to these points where it's like live with life and death, and you don't want to bring this conversation up, but how do I say it, and where do they come from? Does it come from my own wounding, or does it come from a real, like a gift? And then I would say, like, it's often easier I feel like we men also, we have fragile sexual ego. It's like, am I not good enough? And then it's like, boom, he contracting back into that wound, and yeah, am I not good in bed? It's like, that's, whoa, can really. So it's easier to like, hey, I looked at this man here, and he talk about conscious sexuality. I think that could be something for you. Would you like to check him out? He's a cool dude, and it's easier for a man to do together, or like brotherhood, and because there's not a criticism, and I think that is where we as men are we don't want to be criticized too much, and we have fragile sexual egos.
I think it taps fully into this piece of like doing things in community. I mean, we see it like in our men's group, you know, like there's topics that come out. It's just like freaking beautiful, like the level of vulnerability. But I think it's really also for men, sort of like knowing that spaces like that exist, where, you know, you can come in it. It's not about like being in competition. I mean, obviously, I think in men's groups, it's this level of like, I hold you to a higher standard than you hold yourself to. Because I see sort of like a higher version of who you are, rather than kind of like the lower rounds that often express itself through you. But it is this piece of having a space to talk about like relationships and things like not really working, or like, dude, like, man, I'm struggling here. Like, what are your reflections? And receiving that guidance from another man, rather than, I think, from another woman, because there is a different perspective. I think like men and women are uniquely different beings, and I feel it's important that we recognize that, so that we can really come together in a act of service, rather than just in an act of like, yeah, we're actually fucking the same. So like there's nothing
or
interesting
remaining in polarity.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move to this question that Harim is asking. So because we spoke a lot about sexuality, and so his piece right now is, does masturbation have a place in a man's embodiment of a healthy sexual life? And if so, any tips? And that shall be the last question, and then we'll let you go, Paul.
I would say yes. It's so even though we talk about non-ejaculation, it's a good thing to stay sexually active, and to masturbate, and to getting to know your body and fully feel your pleasure, and using the pleasure to open up the body, and but if you can stop before you ejaculate, that's the kind of what I advise to. But then so you can go a week, you can go maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. It's learning to conserve that energy while staying sexually active. And maybe you run for a while to bring or work out, doing yoga, to balance this new level of energy, which is kind of coming into your body. But then it's so stay sexually active is what and practice with that is what I recommend. Enjoy the pleasure. We are there to, it's not to
enjoy the
suppress
pleasure.
it, but it's full enjoy the full out pleasure. And when you full out pleasure, then the full body orgasm can come as well.
That's great
Even
advice.
Man, fucking dope, brother. It's been really good having you with us today. It's super beautiful. Is there any specific things that you would like to invite people to at the moment? We have put all your links to the Wildman project and everything in the description as well. But if there's anything else that you feel like, this is what I'm doing and this is awesome and I'm excited, I want people to be part of that, share it, man.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I am actually having a 7-day Wildman challenge coming up, where we actually do 1 week without ejaculation, or trying that out, doing morning practices, and taking away addictions, and then just go for a week and see if you can have a change and get a taste of your full power. And I have a cool music. It's like and doing my favorite practice of dance, qigong, kundalini yoga, everything to kind of spark up your body. And then I have like a 12 weeks Wildman program after, but I want to give you a taste and feel if this is good, because as you said, also men's group is like so powerful. So if you are not in a men's group, get few men together. If you have problems with that, feel free to come to my program or any of your programs and just explore how it is to be a man and a conscious man. We need, as the woman said, like we need more conscious men, and we need to rise. And I feel so much beauty in the men when we are coming together and sharing our truth and our vulnerability as well, and our strength, and supporting each other.
Yeah, 100%. It's really just coming together. Yeah, if you want to share the link for the challenge, we'll happily put it in the description of this episode.
Yeah, okay, I put it there on the
amazing.
screen.
You just
there.
put it in here.
Amazing.
Sweet.
So,
Awesome. Paal.
Paul.
So beautiful,
Thank
man.
you for sharing this
Thank
space.
you so much for being here and sharing so openly and vulnerably. Yeah, lots of love to you, my man.
Yeah, likewise. Really happy
Thank
to
you
be
again.
here with you guys. Always good to be with good men. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
And everybody else, we'll see you again next Monday. Mwah. Lots of love.
ciao, ciao.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.